We've signed an MOU together with the Ministry of Investment as well as the Air Connectivity Program and the Ministry of Tourism. This is basically our intention to look closer at the market. I think we see a lot of potential here in Saudi Arabia, especially with the Vision 2030, the tourism ambitions, and we think Wizz Air can play a part of that. And so we've agreed both with Ministry of Investment and Air Connectivity Program to explore ways of Wizz Air entering the market and helping achieve those objectives.
So can you explain to us what are your plans for the Saudi market, given those ambitious plans that we heard from Vision 2030 in Saudi?
We see a lot of, as I said, potential for the market. I think we announced our first step today with new service coming between Dammam to Vienna, to Rome, and to Abu Dhabi. This is our first service into Saudi Arabia, and hopefully just the beginning of service we would bring. From there, we see a lot of new potential we could add on into other markets, and we'll continue to explore that together with Ministry of Investment and Ministry of Tourism. So more to come.
If we are to talk about this more to come, how can you help Saudi's plans to triple passenger traffic by 2030 and boost the country's tourism industry? What conversations were you having with the Ministry of Tourism in that sense?
Yeah, I think Wizz Air can play a really important part of that. It's basically the reason that we exist. We exist to provide affordable, low-cost travel to all consumers, and we think we can play a large role bringing new tourists into Saudi Arabia, bringing new capacity into markets from our home markets across everywhere from Europe to the Middle East and beyond. And these are new flows that are unconnected to Saudi Arabia today. By bringing the low-cost travel and low-cost fares, we really stimulate new travelers and bring new passengers into the market that wouldn't have traveled before. And by the way, a nice side benefit is that it also, the capacity goes the other direction, and many Saudis will then have access to new low fares and new capacity they wouldn't have had before. And I think in response to that model, which we've seen, a lot of success operating in multiple parts around the world, we've had great support here from Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Investment, the Air Connectivity Program, GACA, and today as well the Dammam Airport. So I think it's been the government of entities and the government bodies really see the potential Wizz can bring to the vision.
Let us talk about the wider GCC region. What are your plans for business with the GCC?
It's a really fast-growing region for us. We have, in addition to our new flights we announced today to Saudi Arabia, we also have Wizz Abu Dhabi, which is based out of Abu Dhabi, and an airline we operate out of there. That's 4 aircraft already. It's only just over a year old, and we'll be expanding it to 8 aircraft in the coming months. Plus, we fly a number of other routes between our core markets across Europe into the Middle East region, be it to Jordan, be it to Abu Dhabi, be it to Dubai, and now Saudi Arabia as well. So I think, we've really seen actually in the last couple of years, and especially during the pandemic, a lot of traveler patterns shift to wanting to come explore the region more. And we want to be an airline that provides the capacity and low fares for consumers to come and visit the GCC region.
Let us talk about global trends these days. We cannot have any conversation about business without talking about inflation. So globally, how are ticket prices impacted by the rise in energy prices and by inflation?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because 6 months ago, all we could talk about from a global perspective was COVID, and I think the thing is, at least now with the high inflation environment, this is an environment airlines have been in many times before, with high energy prices, high inflation. And unlike COVID, that's a pattern that we know what happens. Consumers in this environment, they want good value for when they travel. They tend to go for the lowest cost prices, and that really benefits low-cost carriers like Wizz. Because again, we're providing that low-cost service that when inflation hits everything you're buying, but you still want to go on vacation, you still want to go visit friends and relatives, visit family members, you're still going to want to travel and you're going to look for that low-cost price. So yes, I think you're going to see, as inflation continues, it's inevitable that gets passed into some form into ticket pricing. But then over time, that is kind of in the end a benefit for us, because consumers then tend to choose with their feet and come to low-cost airlines.
But so far, how much have ticket prices already increased? How much have you managed to pass on of that hike in costs to the final consumer?
It's never quite a straight pass through. I think we try to do everything we can to offset those increases. So part of our benefit is we're having the new fleet. We fly with A321neos. These are the most efficient aircraft out there. They're 15-20% lower cost than older technology, and so we managed to save a lot of the costs and ultimately not pass along so much to the consumer. That said, if you look at our core markets and where we're seeing fares going, you are seeing ticket prices higher this summer. Probably, if you look this kind of 3 months, the quarter ending in June, fares are roughly flat actually to where they were pre-pandemic. But as you get into the peak summer months across July, August, and September, you are starting to see prices increase in the high single digits across many of our markets. So it is a pressure that's out there right now.
How is global passenger traffic today compared to pre-COVID levels? And what do you think of the revenge travel? Do you think that this is a phenomenon that we're seeing right now?
Yeah, so I think in terms of global demand, I mean, it's interesting. Actually, Wizz, we're back and actually above where we were pre-pandemic. So as an airline this summer, we'll operate 140% of capacity versus what we did pre-pandemic. So before the pandemic, we operated about 115 aircraft. This summer, we'll be doing 165. So I think for us, demand is back. In all of our core markets, we see customers back out traveling. The load factors on our flights are about what they were before. So demand is back. Now, I think, as you said, part of it could be revenge travel this summer as consumers, haven't been able to travel for the last few years and finally have the chance to go back out, take a vacation, see a family member that they haven't seen for a few years. So, of course, some of that probably will subside. But we actually see right now bookings continuing into the fall and into the winter. I mean, it's still early, but, I don't think I would say that it's all of a sudden people are going to stop traveling again come the end of summer. So, people like to travel. People like having access to low fares, and we want to make sure we keep giving that to them and the chance to continue making their trips.
Final question. If we look into more detail, what are some of the trends that you are witnessing in passenger traffic and demand for travel these days?
Yeah, it's an interesting time. I think the trends you're seeing, post-COVID, you've seen a later booking profile of customers. So on average, our flights are booking about 5 to 10 days later than they would have historically. So consumers are waiting a little bit longer. I think they still feel that uncertainty. We still saw actually a lot of customers hesitating booking back when there were still some restrictions. And interesting, there's still been restrictions, all the way till the end of May. So again, all that compounded to kind of give customers a little bit more uncertainty when booking their trips. The other thing I think you see is a bit different mix of destinations than you would have pre-pandemic. And that's played out differently across Europe and into the Middle East. What we've seen actually is if you drew a line somewhere through kind of the border between, let's say, Western and Eastern Europe, whereas historically Central Eastern Europe tended to go a lot more towards the west of Europe, you've actually seen a lot more trends shifting east and customers exploring new regions out here. Likewise, we've seen a lot of new flows being opened up out of Abu Dhabi and out of the Middle East region as we've expanded. And so you're seeing, I think, customers, as they come back in, they really want to have a great new experience when they come in and try something new they may not have been able to try before.